Thank you to the organizers and everyone for allowing me to be with this community, which has a special place in my heart, and tell you a little bit about ACM. How many of you are ACM members? Okay. The rest of you, I saw who you are, and I'll come to you. So let me start by reading to you what is the ACM mission. I won't ask. I know that nobody knows what the mission of ACM is, and I didn't know about it until I became candidate to become president. Then I had to look up it. So I'll be highlighting the key elements, and I think it is very important for you to understand what we are trying to do as a society of scientist professionals. ACM is a global scientific and educational organization dedicated to advancing the art, science, engineering, and application of computing, serving both professional and public interests by fostering the open exchange of information and by promoting the highest professional and ethical standards. The green stuff is the nature of ACM, science and education, and then everything about computing, including engineering and including applications, including multidisciplinarity, interdisciplinarity, which is key for what we do. I'm not saying that we are doing equally well on all of that, but that's what we are. And then the red things, we're global, we're open, and of course, high professional standards. You'll see some of this reflected in the next few slides. Notice that nowhere does it say publication. Okay, we are not a publisher. We help the open exchange by publishing, but publishing is not the main goal. So just so that by going around conferences, I realize that sometimes people don't realize where in the map of this organization they are. So let me say, in case you don't know, it is ACM, considered as a big mansion, and then it has a whole bunch of big rooms in it, which are the special interest groups. And in one of these 37 interests, one of them is a special interest group on computer-human interactions, SIGCHI. And SIGCHI is organizing conferences, like all SIGs do that. So what are the SIGCHI conferences? There is the big CHI conference, computer-human interaction. It was in Yokohama a few months ago. And then it has 28 total conferences that SIGCHI is organizing. And you are here, okay? So that's where RecSys is in the map of the conferences of SIGCHI of ACM. So if you're wondering why in the world this guy, by just the ACM something or other is here, that's why I'm here. That's the hierarchy and that's the relationship. But it's not only conferences. Again, judging from myself a few years back, ACM and the SIGs are not just about conferences. There are a whole bunch of other cross-cutting efforts that ACM is doing. And if I meant to map them on a few pillars of any organization, what is strategy? So we as an organization, not for profit, the goal is products and services, and we have finances, processes, infrastructures, and people to support all this. We serve members and we serve society. Remember, both professional and public interests in our mission. We have a bunch of things, a bunch of boards, cross-cutting boards with people from many SIGs or non-SIGs that help us. The digital library that you all use, whether you know it or not. Governing the SIGs, the publication board, where your conferences go. But also diversity, equity, and inclusion, even if this term is forbidden in certain parts of the world now. Still, we care about mentoring and encouraging everyone to grow, especially practitioners for industry, for educators, and technology policy, which is very, very important now as the world becomes even more complex as a place, both because of our technologies and all that. And also we have councils in addition to the big governing council of ACM, regional councils. And let me say one thing about technology policy, one instance of the work that we are doing. A couple of years before, 3 years ago, ACM, a big group, again, coming from multiple sub-areas of computing, came and said, had a statement for responsible algorithmic systems, recommender systems, database systems, no matter what. How should we as computing professionals be doing this? And they came up with 9 principles that dealt with primarily with AI. I try to not mention AI. I will not mention LLM except for this self-reference. Don't worry about it. But it is part of the principles. So algorithmic systems based on AI, how should we be dealing with them? So making a recommend decisions, very appropriate for this team, and so on. So there are 9 principles. How many of you are familiar with these principles that ACM came up with? Okay. This is 10% on you and 90% of ACM not doing a good job in promoting them and in disseminating them and so on. But now you have no excuse. You heard it. Go check it out. It's easy to find. And then you'll see many of the things that you feel are right, but articulated in a way that hopefully you will be able to promote them and go further. ACM Open. 5 years ago, and now for the past 3 meetings of the ACM Council, we decided that all ACM publications and related research artifacts, data sets, software, whatever, in the ACM Digital Library will be fully openly available after 1st of January 2026. So, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All of your works, this conference, all the previous conferences, everyone, anywhere in the world will be able to read it without having to pay. And that's a daring move, a costly move. ACM is investing some of its assets to make this happen. Not only, of course, I'll explain the business model behind it, so that you know what is coming and make sure you address the issues if they are not addressed already. So this is, the digital library, the readers, the writers, the authors of conferences or journals, and here's my other ACM. This is my artistic way of coming up with a paywall. So when the paywall was on reading, and of course most readers were in an institution, were in a country, one of these entities were paying for it to read. But now the paywall is moved to the authoring side. And ACM is the first one that says, okay, most of the authors are also part of an institution, are also part of a country, and we have established a model where, whereas an institution was paying to read, now it pays to write, depending on how much you write. So let's, for example, the MITs of the world or the Tsinhuas of the world that publish a lot, they pay a lot. If you're from an institution that doesn't publish anything or very little, then you pay very little. And if you belong to such an institution, you are like that. If not, you are independent or your institution has not joined ACM Open, then you have to be paying per article processing charges. And if you are in a particular case, and by the way, we are the only society, only publisher, commercial or non, that we are offering this institution-based subscription. And of course, there are a bunch of cases where ACM is giving you waivers if you are in a different situation, in a difficult situation, or in a country that is developing. We're trying to serve the authors, and we also have, although the article processing charges for those uncovered is much cheaper than anyone else that has a digital library that is offering. We also have the next 3 years, we'll have a transition plan for even lower prices. About 2,800 institutions have joined ACM. Check your institution to see if you are part of ACM. Because if you are not, then unless you fall into these situations where ACM, based on its policies, will provide a waiver or a reduction in the fees, you will need to be paying from your grant or who knows where. For example, since we are in Czechia, 9 institutions in the Czech Republic are participating. Of course, not everyone. Let me say the impact and what we're trying to do. If this is the set of to-be readers of the ACM Digital Library, when the paywall was on reading, there was a digital library subscription plan, and whoever was part of that plan was able to read, and the gap was this huge blue sea of people who couldn't read, unless they paid individually. Now, this is gone. Then we have a much smaller subset of to-be authors. The paywall is on authoring, and we have the ACM Open plan. So whoever is in that subset, covering a big subset, but not the full set of authors, can read. And we have this green gap. See if you fall in this gap. And if not, first of all, go back up to your hierarchy of your institution and recommend, you know how to do this, recommend that they join. And if not, then see what other ways you have to cover. And it's really unfortunate that a bunch of very high-flying institutions, I won't name names, okay, that were subscribing to the digital library, they're not subscribing to the open side. They say, my faculty have lots of grants, they should pay APCs. That's not the spirit. So please go out and help cover this gap so that no one is left behind. This is key, and ACM is finding also other sources of money and so on. And one last part, when I became president, I realized, and also from feedback from the community, that quite a few things need to change in ACM. So I established what I call ACM 4.0, which had planned to form 10 presidential task forces to address how ACM should change in order to serve the community and society for the next, 10, 15 years. And then I was honored to be re-elected, and as a software guy, I versioned, and from 4.0 I went to 4.1, and 4 more presidential task forces came in, 14. Some have finished their work, some are working, and some still have not started. In the same map, I'll very quickly tell you what they are about, and then I'll say 2 highlights for 2 of them. So for members, we're working on a new membership model so that the rest of you who are not members now maybe will become afterwards. Globalization, increasing the footprint of ACM around the globe, serving the different needs that people have, let's say, between Silicon Valley and Sudan. The needs of professionals are different. And youthification, getting the youth. For society, the UN Sustainable Development Goals. How many of you know the UN Sustainable Development Goals? Okay, please go and check them out in the UN. These are the goals for how the world should develop in order to be sustainable and not self-destroy. I'll say one more thing, next slide. The Code of Ethics, and then publication and scientific ethics, which ACM is working an initiative CLEAR, leading an initiative called CLEAR, with many societies, IEEE, Usenix, AAAI, and so on, to work on that. Open science, part of it is open access that I mentioned, growth areas, and a few others internally. ACM, hopefully, after all this is done, and after my, certainly way beyond my term as president, hopefully will be an organization that will be ready for the next 10, 15 years, and will be serving you and serving all of us much better. One thing I want to say, I had an open call for volunteers a couple of years ago, and the most popular presidential task forces were those related to values. Not to technology, not to running things, but the UN Sustainable Development Goals, Code of Ethics, open science. This is it, and some of them have not started yet. So if you have something really close to your heart, please come talk to me and I'll see if there is space for you to join. I want to say about growth areas, that's my second mention of AI. Certainly, ACM, it doesn't have the big conferences, the big events on AI, but we are in transition to change this. In a year from now, probably in September, there will be a big ACM AI Summit. Check it out. There will be open calls for the technical part of the summit. This community should be there. It is very much in tune. And then a bunch of journals are coming in. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals address really huge goals of the world, like eradicating poverty, no wars, equality among genders, life above water, life on land, and so on. Climate action, let's not forget it. And none of them can be achieved without our technology. Computing, not only AI, computing in general cannot achieve anyone. And the 17 are broken to 169 targets, so-called, smaller goals. 70% of them need computing technology. So ACM is setting up a way so that it can bring in computing, bring us together with other scientists and other professionals in order to address some of these challenges. And this picture I really like to show because it's haunting me since I ever saw it. It shows some of the waves that can lead us to disaster. And this little wave, in case you don't see it, says COVID. So if we thought that COVID was the big thing that we suffered as a generation, we are mistaken. And even climate action is not a huge thing. And of course, the stupidity of war can destroy everything. So, and all of them can be helped in a good way, also in a bad way, by our technology. So I think we have a little bit of responsibility to also think about the public interest. And we cannot move forward unless we trust. If there is trust in society, trust among ourselves. And for me, this picture is the most vivid picture I've seen on the web that captures trust between people, especially the lowest guy. He's the most trustful of all. And if you see how he shapes his body, it's like an A. And if you see the middle lady, the way she curves her body, it's like a C. And so look at the top guy with a little bit of imagination, he is an M. So I am ACM, you be too. Thank you.